Her message arrived at 2:17 a.m., glowing against the dark like a confession disguised as defiance. If you don't trust me to spend weekends with my ex, maybe we shouldn't be a couple. No explanation, no hesitation, just that. I stared at the screen, feeling the room tilt a few degrees off its axis. A single sentence, soft in tone, sharp in impact. Delivered after a night she claimed she spent with friends. Delivered after she left her phone face down on the table at dinner, eyes flicking toward it whenever it buzzed. My chest didn't tighten. My pulse didn't spike. Instead, something inside me went very still. A quiet, surgical silence, the kind that precedes a decision. I didn't respond. I only watched the message, memorizing the way each word carved itself into me. Trust, weekends, ex, maybe, shouldn't, 5 wounds, 1 truth. Something had already broken. She simply gave it a name. The next morning, she acted as if nothing had happened. She slid into the passenger seat with a soft smile, kissed my cheek, and spoke about brunch plans. I watched her talk, watched her hands move, watched her avoid my eyes when I asked how her night had actually gone. She laughed too quickly, blinked too often, touched her neck when she lied, a small tell I had once found endearing. She repeated the same story, just friends, but her voice cracked around the edges, as if truth was a weight she could no longer carry. I didn't argue, didn't interrogate, didn't even react. Instead, I let the suspicion breathe, expanding quietly inside me. Every detail felt off. Her perfume slightly different, her mood unusually light, her phone notifications flipped to silent. Something wasn't being said. Something was being hidden. And she thought I was too blinded by love to see it. She was wrong. I began watching without appearing to. Small things first. Phone patterns, social media gaps, the way she guarded her weekends, offering vague explanations and unnecessary smiles. I played calm, supportive, understanding, an image rehearsed to perfection. Inside, I was mapping inconsistencies. I checked her public posts, her tagged photos, the timing of her messages. Not intrusive, just observant. She had begun slipping, leaving digital fingerprints in places she assumed I'd never look. A story reposted at midnight, a location tag that contradicted her claim. And then the detail that confirmed my suspicion. Her ex's car reflected in a window behind her. I didn't confront her. I simply collected truths like evidence in a quiet courtroom only I knew existed. Each piece clicked into place, and the shape of her betrayal became clearer. It wasn't accidental, it wasn't impulsive, it was chosen, and she expected me to accept it as trust. The final proof arrived by mistake, a synced photo backup she forgot was linked to our shared drive. A single image, blurry, dim, but unmistakable. Her, leaning into him, his hand on her waist, their reflections tangled in a bar's polished steel. My stomach didn't drop, my hands didn't shake. I felt precise. I printed the photo, slid it into a plain envelope, and left it on her desk. No note, no accusation, just the truth waiting to be recognized. She found it that evening. I watched from the doorway as her face drained of every practiced expression. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Panic reshaped her features. I can explain," she whispered. I stepped closer, calm as winter. "I know," I said softly. "I already know everything." Her breath stuttered, her knees weakened, and finally, her lies collapsed under the weight of evidence she never thought I'd seek. I didn't raise my voice, didn't accuse, didn't grant her the emotional scene she seemed to expect, some desperate plea that would allow her to paint herself as the victim of my insecurities. Instead, I slid her phone across the table, unlocked, already reviewed. Every message between them organized, highlighted, categorized. Calm, clinical. You said weekends with him were harmless, I said, but you forgot your patterns, your tells, your timestamps. Her eyes filled, not with guilt, but with fear. Fear of the version of me she was only meeting now. Silent, composed, unshakable. I didn't, she began. You did, I interrupted. You meant every part of it. You just didn't think consequences would follow. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Her face crumpled, not from heartbreak, but from the realization that she had lost control of the narrative. And that was the moment she understood. Revenge doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. I packed in silence, not angrily, not hurriedly, just efficiently, removing my presence from a space that no longer deserved it. She hovered behind me, offering apologies shaped like excuses, begging for a chance shaped like denial. I didn't respond, didn't argue, didn't grant her the dignity of a final conversation. When I closed the suitcase, she stepped forward desperately. "We can fix this," she pleaded. "We can start over." I met her eyes one last time. Calm, detached, unreachable. "There is no we," I said. "Just the truth. And you." She broke then, visibly, audibly, painfully. But her suffering wasn't my burden anymore. I walked past her, each step lighter than the last, as if I had finally put down a weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying. Outside, the air felt sharper, cleaner. I breathed once, deeply, and with an exhale, I let her go. I didn't look back, not even once.